Hey, I got a whole nother desk.
Can I put all these pictures? In fourth period.
Alright,
No.
so again, the ones that I'm going over right now, these are from page, what page is this? 462. I'm going to go over 12 through 14. Alright, so now, for these problems, you needed two formulas. You needed your formula for finding the perimeter of a regular polygon and the formula for finding area of a regular polygon. So first, perimeter is found by doing the length of one side times the number of sides. Our area formula is either 1/2 ASN or 1/2 AP. Again, most of the time, I'm going to just find the perimeter first, whether it asks me to or not, so I can just use the second formula.
Wait, so the second formula is easier?
No, again, you're still doing the same work because you still have to do S times N. It's just whether I want to write it out here or do it as perimeter and then plug it in. It doesn't matter. So some of the questions ask you for a perimeter as well. So I might as well just find the perimeter and then do the area, since it's part of that formula. Now, the first question there is a regular polygon has sides of 4. Sorry, regular pentagon. A regular pentagon has sides of 4. What are the perimeter and area of the pentagon? So, for number 12, I'm going to draw it because, again, I think drawing it helps you picture what's going on.
Why'd you add me?
But the pentagon has 5 sides, bro.
Yeah.
But you said 4.
No, the length is 4. No, each side is 4 feet, it said. 4 feet for a side. So now, on this diagram, I'm going to add in my apothem, which we don't know yet. We have to solve for it. In order to solve for it, we're going to have to use this right triangle made by drawing in those two pieces, the apothem, and then the distance from the vertex to the center as well. Now, in order to figure out what this angle is up at the top, because again, this is just like the example that was in the book, right, with the octagon. We're going to take all the degrees around this central angle, which is 360, divide it by n, so 360, we're dividing by n, in this case it's 5, and we would get that this angle, this whole angle up top, is 72.
And then you divide by 2?
And then we'd have to divide by 2.
Oh. Wait, what?
So that would give me, this one is 36. So again, listen, what we had to do first, because we don't know the apothem. We don't have the apothem. We have to find the apothem first. We're going to have to do trig. But in order to do trig, we need one of our angle measures. It doesn't matter which angle measure you use, but you have to do one of the two acute angles of that right triangle we made. It's faster to find the top angle than trying to figure out this bottom angle. It works a lot less. We took around any single point. So if I went all the way around a circle, that's 360 degrees. If I was to draw in all the isosceles triangles here, I would divide by the number of sides to get each one of those top angles for the isosceles triangles, right? So each one of these is 72 degrees.
How do we know that?
360 divided by 5 would be 72. And then 72 divided by 2, we're splitting it, is 36. So now that we have the top, guys, now that we have the top, we can use trig to find the other pieces. Now, this whole thing is 4. We should know that this is going to be half of that, so this is 2. To do the trig that we need, we have this angle at the top, is 36. We're using the opposite and the adjacent sides, which would be what? Tangent. So, tangent of 36 equals opposite over adjacent.
With the whole, I missed that. I know what you're doing with Solar Controller, but I can't see it when it's like inside a shape. Like when it's a triangle itself, it's easy to see. Like
so, ignore the rest of that. You have one angle, right? The angle we know is the 36. Based off that 36 degree angle, this is the side that's opposite. This is the side that's next to it. So opposite and adjacent.
so
Opposite and adjacent, that's tangent.
Okay.
So, we wrote out an equation. Now, shh, guys. In order to actually find A, you'd first, what you're actually doing is multiplying A to the other side, but then it wouldn't be by itself, it would be next to tangent. So then we'd have to divide off tangent. So, our equation ends up being A equals 2 over tangent 36. That's what we need to plug into the calculator.
Okay, so 2 divided by 10.
Again, we multiplied A to the other side first. And then in order to get A by itself, you had to remove tangent, so you had to divide off tangent.
But why are you doing 2 divided by what formula is that? I thought that was
Opposite. Again, tangent is opposite over adjacent, right?
Okay, I think I'm confused. I was thinking, okay, there's a lot of formulas to figure out.
I know. So now, plug that into the calculator. That'll give you approximately 2.8. Alright? Again, roughly it's 2.8. It doesn't say what's around 2 on this problem. I'm just rounding off to one decimal place for right now. It's not going to be as accurate as if you kept more decimals, but for right now, 2.8 works. So now, we have our apothem. We now have all the pieces we need, because we have our apothem, we have the length of the side, and we know the number of sides is 5. So we have all 3 pieces. If you want to, you could write it down so that you can see. A we know is 2.8, approximately. S we know is 4, and N is 5. So, we have all the parts we need to plug into our formulas. For perimeter is S and N. So, S times N, that's 4 times 5, which is 20. And this is in feet, so 20 feet. That's one answer. The second formula, 1/2 AP. So 1/2, our apothem of 2.8, times our perimeter of 20. It doesn't matter the order you multiply those in. So I'd actually think it's easier to do 1/2 of 20, which is 10. And then 10 times 2.8 is 28. And now this is going to be in feet squared because it's area. Again, anytime you're doing units for area, they should always be units squared. Alright, so that's the first one. Now, the reason I wanted to go over these next two is because these next two use special right triangles. So yes, you might see trig. And you can do the trig. Shh, guys. You could do trig for any one of these problems if you really wanted to. But if you can get away with using your special right triangles instead, it's going to make it easier. There are a couple of shapes that when we are dealing with an apothem, we're going to create a special right triangle. In fact, there's 3 shapes that will create a special right triangle. So let me go over them real fast. If we had a regular triangle, drew in our apothem, and then the distance from the center to the vertex, this would be a 30, 60, 90. If we had a square and had our apothem and drew this in, this would be a 45, 45, 90, or it's a square, yeah. And then the other one is a hexagon. If you have a regular hexagon, I drew that horribly, by the way. This one will also give you a 30, 60, 90. But it's turned a different way than if it was in the triangle. Right? So, those are the 3 shapes where we get a special right triangle when drawing in our apothem. So again, we have our 30, 60, 90 in a triangle, a 45, 45, 90 in a square, and our 30, 60, 90 in a hexagon. So the other 2 that I picked to do right now with you guys are 13 and 14, because one's a triangle and one's a hexagon. So let's take a look at those 2.
Can you keep up for like 5 seconds?
Yeah, I'll just do it right here. So, let me draw my image for the next one.
Is this test easy or hard?
If you know the formulas, it's easy if you know the formulas. You have to know the formulas though.
Okay, well, this is really easy because I put a lot of effort.
All right, so on the next one, on number 13, if you draw on your apothem and you draw on this other length here, you end up with a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So using,
Does it matter?
again, we know that in a triangle, in an equilateral triangle, this angle would have to be 60, right? If you drew this line in, it's going to bisect that angle. So this is 30, that's 90, therefore that one has to be 60. All right?
You know that's 60. I mean 30.
Because it's an equilateral triangle, so it's bisecting this angle of 60. All right, so now we have our triangle. If you know the apothem, that's the short leg of that triangle. We need the long leg, so that'd be 6 radical 3.
Yeah.
Why does that help us? We need the side length. The side length is this entire thing. So we have to double this, which is going to give us 12 radical 3. So that's now our S value.
Okay.
So we have our A is 6, the S is 5, sorry, the S is 12 radical 3, and the N is 3. Bless you.
Wait, so it says that it gives us the item. Sit down. Oh it does. Okay, never mind.
Yes.
What's 3?
So it's a circular triangle for 36 90. What's the hypotenuse? 2x, right? Or something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't label it on this one because we don't need it for anything for this problem. Again, if you want to put it on there, it'd be 12. Again, we don't really need it though. So now, using my formulas, I'm going to plug these in. I have for perimeter, S times N, 12 radical 3 times 3 is 36 radical 3. And we can just leave it as an exact value. And this one was in centimeters. And you can leave it like that. Most of the time, if you're dealing with a problem that has a special right triangle in it, it's going to usually ask for it as an exact value. Springboard didn't specify, so if you rounded on this one, that's
On
fine.
the test,
Again, on a test, I will make sure that there's specific directions.
and there's no radicals.
And-
Are we gonna put radicals?
Yeah, there'll be radicals.
Why?
There's a radical in this problem. So you'll see radicals on the test. No.
Will there be triples?
There could be a triple. Yeah. There was a triple on the homework last night.
Oh, sorry.
So, on for area, again, we have areas 1/2, AP. We have
Good afternoon.
1/2. The apothem is 6.
Pen or pencil. You write bus 4802. You will write
Shut up.
4994. Will write 4646. 4835. Will write 5125. And 4700. Will write 5622. Attention students. If you sign up
This is a 3.
for
This is a 3.
you must arrive to school by 7:30 a.m. Make sure you have your ticket and ID with you.
Good afternoon, staff and students. And I have a primary
All right. We'll do more on Monday. Most of what we're going to do in class the next few days is just going over problems, because there's no new material. Everything that you have to memorize is what I gave you yesterday. Huh? Next Wednesday there will be, yeah.
You will receive 5 links. Keep up dialogue on IT teacher and your future teachers.
Why are you wearing that?
What?
And here's your teacher.